36 on the 15th of November 2021, and we're here for a regular meeting of the St. Albans Town Selectboard. We're going to begin with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to start with the warrants. Jonathan has the general fund.
The general fund warrant dated November 12, 2021, in the amount of $112,341.50. One of the big ticket items on here is to bid to excavating for the placement of the box culvert at Kirkland, I do believe. Make a motion to approve this warrant and the set amount.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aaron?
Brendan, I didn't hear who seconded that.
Aaron?
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm waving as if like the camera is behind me.
I was with you on that.
Yep.
That's fine.
Okay, so
Thank
we
you.
have two payroll warrants, one dated November 5th, 2021, in the amount of $20,327.36. The other one is dated November 12th, 2021, and that's in a very similar amount of $20,496.72. I will make a motion that we approve both the payrolls for the dates and the amounts. That's it.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I've got 4 warrants. We'll start with the stormwater utility. Thank you for answering my question, Carrie.
Yeah, one moment.
Recording in progress.
Okay,
Okay,
sorry.
so Carrie, and our attorney, and Emily looked into the fact that we do not have to recess and be the Stormwater Utility Commission to approve these warrants, which is awesome. So we did that, a little bit of housekeeping. So it's an Aldrich and Elliott invoice, and it is for the Tanglewood stormwater treatment design. So you remember we had a pretty lively crowd for the Tanglewood stormwater design. We're working on it. $4,301 dated November 15th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, impact fee warrant. We said we would use impact fee dollars as the admin cost center for the new town hall. We're making good on that. So this is a warrant dated November 15th, 2021 out of the impact fee account for a total of $130,000 to be made payable to DEW Construction.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
That was Jonathan and Brian. She can't hear as well.
Oh,
Following.
And the industrial park warrant looks normal. Green Mountain Power for the sewage pump, the road sign light, and the road lights. So it's industrial park dated November 15th, 2021, the amount of $687.80.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Okay, now we have an infrastructure development warrant. The warrant that we'll approve is a little different than the one in our packets. We accidentally included our pre-buy invoice with Bloom Brothers for propane for the amount of $40,000. So we're going to take that off of this warrant, and then we're going to do a motion right after this to authorize that check to be cut out of the general fund, along with every other check that we just approved in the general fund warrant. So it's the Infrastructure Development Fund dated November 15th, 2021. It is very much all related to the town hall, and it is in the corrected amount of $256,263.69.
So moved.
Who won that one?
Aaron can have it.
Oh, Aaron, sorry. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we need a motion to authorize the manager and clerk to pay the Blue & Brothers pre-buy invoice in the amount of $40,000 along with the general fund warrant.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect.
And I didn't hear who's making those motions. You gotta speak up a little bit.
Well, that's the mic system, maybe a little different for us.
Jessica and Aaron.
Thank you.
So that'll do it for our warrants tonight. Now we're on to minutes. We've got November 1st and October 18th as amended. Did anybody have any comments or corrections? Hearing none, would anyone like to make a motion to approve both sets?
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Alright, so we're already under agenda item number 4 is public comment. So if you're on Zoom and would like to make a public comment, please either raise your hand if your camera's on or virtually raise your hand. It's a 3-minute comment window, and you can comment for up to 3 minutes about anything you'd like us to be aware of. Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 5, which is the Northwest Communication Union District. We are looking for nominees. We need to find someone for this board. I wonder if it might not be worth putting out an email to Mr. Bojo to see if he knows of anybody in his travels that might be well suited for this.
Should we put it on Facebook or any social media?
That's the point.
Yeah, we should.
There might be folks within the planning commission or other boards that would be interested in running too.
Maybe we could do a blast. We're looking for one, right?
One, that's correct, and it's one meeting a month,
One meeting.
and I'm pretty sure they're doing some virtual, so.
Yeah.
I imagine they're gonna have a big budget soon.
Yeah, by the looks of it.
Some of the, passage of the federal stuff with money, so.
Senator Leahy's leaving after a pretty big win. I think Vermont's getting the highest amount per capita of the bipartisan infrastructure bill of any state in the country. I think that's what I heard. So, thank you, Senator Leahy. You know, if you're watching our meeting, congratulations on your career of almost 50 years. Be interesting to see how the political theater works itself out for that seat.
Do we know, Carrie, if there's a, not a deadline, but a time they're looking to have someone filled in that position?
No, I just think they kind of just said as soon as possible. I mean,
I just didn't know if there was a meeting planned in 2 months or.
they didn't let us know. I mean, I did see in the paper that 4 or 5 towns of municipalities just joined, so.
Saw that as well.
I mean, you can make me that representative until you find it, just so we have somebody there.
Do you want to attend, just keep us in the loop until we find somewhere?
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
I just don't want to miss it. I think it's pretty critical infrastructure at this point.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a career field that's like well suited to
Replace me at the next meeting if you decide. And happily advocate that position.
yeah, we'll have
Could be really interesting.
Yeah, no, I think it would be. So we'll get a Facebook post out, this week and we'll ask Al and then maybe put a blast out to all our existing volunteers.
My guess is it probably won't be a technical position because
No.
those are the other folks, just someone who I think wants to try to see things through and make sure that,
I did get a
if any
phone.
areas in St. Albans Town that need that.
I
It
did
is
get a
critical.
I got a phone call, it was like one of the first positive phone calls I've gotten since before the stormwater utility was enacted, from a resident at the top of French Hill that was very thankful that she wasn't forgotten, because a lot of folks in town have access to high-speed internet, and it was a breath of fresh air, she said, to see that we're focused on representing everybody, even if it's a small number of people in the community. So that was pretty neat, just wanted to pass that along. Okay, so Carrie, agenda item 6.
Perfect. So the first item, we have police services update. And we have Sheriff Roger Longeman here to answer any questions and kind of just give us an overview, I guess, at first. Roger and I meet on a monthly basis, of course, for more urgent things and just to stay in touch. But I'm going to let you take that, Roger.
Okay. Yep. Evening board. Just to let you know, we've had 3 Dodge Durangos delivered this past month. They're currently being upfitted. We're still waiting on some equipment to be added, mainly the light bars. The consoles are all in those 3 SUVs. We also took possession, delivery of 2 Dodge Challengers. Actually, that the town has, we have for town patrols. Those will be outfitted just as soon as we get these Dodge Durangos outfitted. We've had some personnel issues that we're working through. 1 week last month, we had 3 deputies who had their fathers pass away in the same week. That was tough for us to manage, but we made it through. We also had 2 deputies that we put through the level 2 certification who, once they got on patrol and were fully certified, decided that patrol wasn't for them. They're still staying with us. They're just doing other duties within the sheriff's office. But we did also put an additional 2 through the level 2 certification as well. And they've made it through full certification. They're just waiting for a couple of the final classes that they need to take through the police academy. We also had a couple medical issues, actually 3 medical issues this past month with deputies. 2 of our senior deputies. One is working through a heart issue, cardiac issue that we're still looking to see if we can resolve. He's on light duty. And we have another who's had back surgery who's out on light duty. But aside from that, I think the patrols in the town are going pretty well. At the police advisory meeting, we discussed the survey. The thing that I gleaned most from the survey is the quality of life issues that the survey had. People looking, to most concerned about burglaries, noise complaints, speeding issues were a constant. I mean, I highlighted, I don't know, speed, how many times in some of those comments. And I also noted in the survey, and some of the members there also mentioned that they were dissatisfied with them not being able to contact like the sheriff's office and whatnot. So that's something we're going to be working on, as well as those who have had no contact with the sheriff's department. There were a lot of those on the survey that I looked at that thinking, we got to come up with ways in which people can contact us, and we can contact them when they don't have any initial contact, because they don't have a call with us in the sheriff's office. Someone had suggested an open house. That was on our list of things to do, but obviously COVID played a big part of that. And one thing that I'm looking to do more next year, participate a little more aggressively in town events. Perhaps looking at something like the farmers market once or twice a month, maybe have our tent out there with a number of deputies, and people can come up and just ask questions, talk to us, and maybe through the month, rotate a few different deputies in there where we get to know different deputies and whatnot. Yeah, but aside from that, that's the update I have for you guys. Are there any questions I could answer?
I was gonna ask, Sheriff, when you say they're not able to contact you, can you be more specific? What do you mean they're not able to contact you?
I don't know if they meant anonymously, Brian, or picking up the phone. I certainly get a lot of phone calls, which I gladly return and discuss issues with individuals. But just, I guess it wasn't easy to contact us, which tells me maybe we need to advertise more or get our number out there more, or come up with some maybe some giveaways at some of these events that shows ways of contacting us.
Any other questions?
Don't think I have any.
Okay.
I know Jen is on here. Is there anything you want to add, Jen, to the police update of the survey that you saw there?
Sure. Can you hear me with my headphones on?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, so the survey was just, an interesting mix. Sorry, I didn't prepare to speak about it, but it was an interesting mix. Some people are complaining about too many tickets for driving too fast, and a lot of people complaining about people driving too fast. So it was sort of a 50-50 there. But yeah, we definitely heard the same report from Sheriff Launchman at our meeting as well. So we discussed, how we could also take some information from the community, and Corey updated us that the website was now up and available so that people can contact us. They can't do so anonymously either through the town website, but they can contact the police advisory board via the town. But yeah, I mean, it was mostly, positive. It was mostly saying that they either had no contact or that the contact they had was okay, other than the people who got tickets. They were not happy. That was the gist.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Roger, till next month then.
I'm wondering
Oh,
if,
sorry. Nope, never mind. We have one more question.
I was just gonna say, I'm wondering if the police advisory committee could do quarterly updates when Roger comes on, if it could be like a joint update.
Makes sense.
I would love that.
I would as well.
Okay, great.
So only quarterly?
Oh, I mean, if they want, I don't know, it's you guys.
Do
If
like
you wanna
a-
do
I think
monthly,
she's
or-
saying sheriff monthly in a summary, right? Is that what you're
Right,
saying?
I was
From
Yeah,
thinking if like the
advisory
board
something
wanted to join him quarterly.
Yeah, that'd be,
Okay, no, that's
Unless-
fine. I just want to make sure I.
Clarify.
understand.
Cool.
Yeah.
that'd be neat.
Yeah.
Keeps a line of communication.
Absolutely.
That's a good idea.
And there's a lot of data that's on, I'm just looking at the 15 pages of data, and it's great that we have a police advisory committee to go through and
Yeah.
take the time to look at it.
Yeah.
And see everything every time, so I
So
think that's
we,
great.
for the public, I think we should just say the data that we received. We've got a lot of raw statistics related to incidents. Our director of operations broke it down in ways that were helpful for us to be able to digest. And we also received ship patrol data that let us know who was clocked in and when. So very transparent as per our contract. We appreciate the police advisory committee helping us, make sure that everybody's living up to the agreement, and it's going really well from my perspective.
Appreciate it.
Good to move on?
So,
Okay, all right. Thank you, Sheriff Langevin.
Thank you.
So the next item is our town hall update. Hunter Gomez from Peterson Consulting Incorporated is here. He's gonna come up to the table so we can hear and see him. Hunter loves this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
How's everyone doing tonight? Happy Monday.
Positive vibes. says Hunter.
Always, yeah. Even when you've been at home with a 2-year-old all day. So I guess the general update is, I don't know if anyone's driven by. We got a whole load of trusses out there. Walls are up. All the walls are up and plumb. They should be swinging trusses tomorrow. So with any luck and lack of wind, we should have a roof on here before you guys meet again, I would imagine. In terms of other schedule items, the site work's more or less put to bed for the time being. They've got some grass seed growing, the storm drains, all that stuff's in. Got some sidewalks going in this week, and that way will be good for opening kind of in the spring before you really want to be pouring concrete again. So you have that squared away. The interior stuff's coming along. We got windows in the queue for early next month, late next month, something like that. We got, obviously the roofers are coming through. We've got that contract locked down, both the flat roof and the standing seam metal roof. So that should get us weather tight by about Christmas time, somewhere in there. And in terms of the budget, we're doing quite well at the moment. We're on target. We've got a couple of new additions to our contingency line. We've secured, we're in the process of, I think it might have been in this warrant, I didn't hear it called out, we're securing the new vault storage. We got that contract underway. Slight overage on that from when we'd originally priced it, not pre-COVID, but 9 months ago, might as well have been. So we had about $4,000 hit the contingency there, $515 to the security access control. So we have those two contracts secured now. Integrity Communication, who's doing the data cabling as a subcontractor for the electrical contractor, is also the IT vendor for the town hall anyways. They're also the only person that responded to our RFP, and they came in $500 more than what their budget number had been. But that scope includes cameras, card access at the entry doors, and lockdown panic buttons that'll call Roger if something goes wrong. So those are the only two current items on the contingency log that you haven't seen yet. We've got kind of a task, not to tell you guys what to do, but we had been hoping that you guys would help us name some conference rooms, because the next kind of critical path owner side item to get is the signage lockdown, which is in large part the required signs like this for accessibility and wayfinding, but then also we wanted to roll that into one package. So we had talked about potentially getting some select board input on naming the different conference rooms.
What do you need to know that by? What's the?
We have some
5
time on
minutes,
that.
or-
I would say,
Okay.
12/6.
yeah, I was gonna say 1
Okay.
month, yeah, for that meeting. So
Okay.
maybe think it over and then have a chat about it the next meeting. And then the other thing, which is still kind of in development, that would also be good to be thinking about is we have on the sliding panel door that's going to be between the entryway and the conference room. There is a frosted image. Did that get shared with everyone?
I'm not sure I did share it with all of
The
them. It's
renderings,
beautiful too. It's what's on the front of the Spectrum, not Spectrum, that new youth services place right next to the beverage mart. Very similar things can be done there. It's just to provide, because that wall to the huge meeting room is also the hallway to where most of the transactions are gonna be happening. So it gives privacy to those that are having a meeting, but doesn't lock you in. You can still get light through it.
Yeah. So just thinking about what that image should be, I
Can
guess
we-
is the question.
How custom can you get with that?
You can get pretty custom.
Yeah,
The
you
guy
can.
just barely emailed me back today, actually.
Like artistically, or you have to have like a photo?
I will, if you have the moment, I can tell you exactly what he said only an hour ago. And I can just flip this around and show you the picture. Wow.
It'd be really cool to have like the two hill lines with like the ball down to the lake or something. To try to get every aspect.
We have
of
some
it.
zone, some
So
drone
this
shots.
is probably not gonna be, but this is the idea. It sounds like you guys have, so it's something like that.
So you can get like multiple colors, it's not just one
It's-
flat.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
layered, kind of. It's
Yeah.
got some shading and layered, but I think it's mostly like a frosted.
Oh,
kind
Show
of
the camera
idea.
too, so that everybody gets to see it.
Sure.
Wait a second.
So it's a frosted glass wall.
Yeah, but it's an overlay on the glass, so you can get pretty
Wait.
custom
Oh,
with it.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They're zooming in.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So that's kind of the example that has been used
What
for.
if we use that Armor Messier drone shot of from behind the ball overlooking the Brooks farm?
You guys like the picture, you just have to buy the rights from Herman to do that with it. He might donate it if his name,
Did we pay for it for the website though?
yeah, but we only bought the rights for our website and social
Right.
media.
So this is with the caveat. I'll say, Freeman, French, and Freeman gave me the contact info for the guy that they did that project with, that exact example. And so the one caveat is this would be subcontracted through DEW, so I don't know if this is the exact person that they're using. So I got that question outstanding still. But what he said is, that image was created by me tracing a photo and computer to create vector artwork.
Mhm.
The artwork was then selectively filled with light tints of black ink and then printed on translucent vinyl and applied to the window. As you noted, I created the artwork and used design signs to output the vinyl and affix it in place. Included in the output file for the printer is a layer for the printer to use to cut out any shapes required, in this case the top of the mountains. The variations of production are endless depending on the image and the specific methods used to produce the final design. Please let me know if I can be of further assistance. So, if DEW hasn't used somebody, we could obviously kind of offer up this guy's services, because obviously his product is kind of what Freeman's thinking of. But it sounds like there's a lot of variability. So, if you get some ideas or something, we can certainly lock down who that vendor is from DEW, and then kind of go from there, or talk to this guy some more. So kind of think about it and just plant the seed a little bit.
How big is that space for reference? I can't remember exactly. It's pretty big.
It's pretty large.
Yeah.
Just one moment.
We have a water line with all the different fish species. Name the conference rooms after them.
Oh, see, that's the thinking. You got some time. You gotta throw some ideas around.
I mean, I think it could be as big as that wall behind Hunter.
Yeah, it's a big
Oh,
one.
wow.
Yeah, I can tell you.
It's gonna be beautiful when we get like the railroad looking aspect of the lobby.
Mhm.
Get that.
And it also is one of those sliding doors so that if the meeting room got full, you could use the entire lobby as a overflow.
It's gonna be really nice.
Well, not the entire lobby, most of the lobby.
What do you think we'll be in there, having a meeting, talking about how beautiful the glass wall is?
The current schedule is showing completion in the end of March. And they're I will say DW is very good about their schedules. And,
Well, Rachel, is she still in charge of that?
oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's March,
Town resident?
the end of March, you're saying the whole thing's done?
2022.
We start moving in.
That's when their scope will be done, and then we got to coordinate it's going to be a day switch over kind of with phone numbers and things like that. And
Server.
it'll probably be a process of what Carrie and I talked about. You're not going to get everything in there in one day that's in this building. So there'll be, some critical path items to get that place operational, and then moving the storage stuff over. So those folks that are providing the vault storage is the same folks that provided this, and they're going to move that same system over there. So that'd be something that
So the end of April, we could possibly
that's
Yeah.
a very real
functional and.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's very real.
Our second meeting in April could be in that building.
Be here before we know it.
We could put a big number up with how many more meetings here. We're probably at like 47 right now.
We still have the chalkboard. We should put a green chalkboard in the new meeting room. That would be cool.
Green chalkboard?
We had a green chalkboard here for years and years and years, and we took it down to put this up.
Primarily because we didn't really use it.
Well, they turn around, I can just remember whoever the chair was at the time, they turn around and write 5242415 because this used to be a live meeting where people
Oh,
would call
right.
into it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's all right. It doesn't really matter if we know this.
Well, I'm almost there now.
Okay, sorry.
I need to have it,
I wouldn't say go and get a green chalkboard yet. We're not talking about
Okay, we should talk about that.
it. So we'll glass.
It's in the vicinity. That door's in the vicinity. I mean,
What if I donate one just so you have to say no to a free one?
scaled out, it's 18'6", so with jams
Oh.
and stuff, it's in the vicinity of 18 feet.
Wow.
So it's pretty big.
And floor to ceiling, probably.
It's not.
10 feet.
It's
Oh,
Leave
it's smaller
some
than that.
open.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 18 feet long. That's
18 feet long. Yeah,
wow,
One-
Pretty cool image.
that's cool.
6 panels basically.
And like a drone shot of the day that gets like halfway point from Georgia Shore.
And we don't know what the lead time on that is, but we probably should also decide that in the next 2 years.
Yeah, if you could get some. Yeah, it should be. We could just target the 6th.
Okay.
Or then even I think if it spills over one meeting, it'll probably be okay.
Okay.
So that's kind of the update. Yeah, we got the vault up. I'm just looking at the plans to kind of touch on any other items. The vault is all fully poured. All the concrete testing has come back good for everything, slab and vault, to meeting the design strengths. And that's kind of the update for now.
How did the lightweight fill work out?
Just great. Performed exactly as it was supposed to thus far. Yeah. It actually wasn't very difficult to handle. I mean, the first time everyone saw it, they picked it up and said, I've never used this before. The engineers from the manufacturer on site said, you gotta trust us. We do this all the time. Literally all of Amsterdam and the Netherlands is built on this, and it worked just fine. So, as they designed it.
They had to like have somebody there shooting grades for compaction for that, or how did that end up working out?
We had our own independent testing agent
Right.
monitoring the compaction, and then the site guy was responsible for the grades. So that was their deal.
We're very serious about making sure this building is built correctly. The voters, approved almost $5 million for this project, but we're making sure that the building around is done totally.
Assuming you have that same thought.
Oh yeah, no, if you're not shooting for perfection, what are you doing? What's the
Exactly.
point?
You know, a lot of good
Yeah.
people, Hunter included.
Yeah. So it's going well. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thanks for the update.
Yeah, no
Can't wait to
problem.
walk into it.
Yeah, and if you guys wanted, if anyone wants to set up a time, I'm sure Jason, superintendent over there, would be more than happy to walk around. And I know that the invite's been out there. We meet on Wednesday mornings, and usually everyone goes and walks around after. So if anyone's got the time, or
You meet right at the construction trailer?
We have our meetings here because of COVID, and then we walk over
Yeah.
and meet at the construction trailer
Yeah.
outside. Required hard hat and high vis vest, but they have some, you don't have to have your own. We have some here too.
Yeah.
Anyone want to go?
Yeah, if anyone wants to, ask, get in touch with Carrie and I can meet you over there. or
Hunter's
something,
there
so.
a lot,
Maybe,
so.
Yeah.
after we get weather tight or something, and there's some lighting, we could do like a 5:45 or 5:30 start over there and have like a group tour.
Yeah, definitely. The,
Knock it all out in like a month or two.
yeah. Yeah, it'll be dark, thinking it'll be kind of dark.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if they have some kind of job lighting or something.
Yeah, there'll be some temp lighting.
Mm.
So, yeah, if anyone wants to cruise through, the invitation's open.
Sweet.
Awesome. I'll see you all in a month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
The next item, looking more or less for consensus, because we all do know that there's a lot of Fed money coming. Regional planning at FCIDC were asking, this was focused on coming from regional planning, but on some priorities. And I did spend some time on the phone with them, but I think some of the things got lost. So if you go to page 3 of that list, where they talk about St. Albans Bay, St. Albans Town infrastructure, I think we need to give them some consensus items, but maybe not all of those that are listed, because I don't, for instance, making 36 a class 1 highway shouldn't be a regional priority, it's just a priority for us. And we're gonna do it probably without the help of regional planning, or substantial help of regional planning. And extending the rail trail into the bay, that might be a long-term dream, but I think we have other things on our priority list that we wanna get to first. So, those are the low-lying fruit, and I'd like to add the St. Albans Bay, sewer project on there, which I mentioned it numerous times, but failed to get on the list. But obviously I can forget other things too, so shoot them my way.
Help out, maybe?
Well, maybe revamping the Stone House to a year-round event space to accommodate weekend lake hockey tournaments and
other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not, we're just doing it for one thing, like, there's a lot of uses.
I think I would just like to stop it at space, like just make it a year-round event space.
Yeah.
And I wonder, I mean, this is more than just the town, but, I didn't see anything in here around, increasing infrastructure for, like regional bike ped and, public transportation. So I feel like that would be not so much us, but I know there's been a community group that has been talking about Route 7, and stating that as a priority, and I know that goes beyond just our town, it impacts the region, and there might be other towns as well that could benefit from bike ped and public transport being supported more regionally, because that also, we can't go it alone on those issues, so.
Some of these, I guess when I talked to Kathy LeRoy, she had said we should put things on here that we've already studied or have some, more than just a conceptual idea, but something we've actually gotten some information on. So having information on that, well, it's a good
Do we have
initiative.
enough help at the end? Probably
We're
not.
getting, we're
Almost
applying
there.
for that right now.
Yeah.
So, but that's why we didn't do that. We're also looking directly to do that St. Albans Bay sewer feasibility study as well. I was hoping it would be on
Well, Route 7 North, we do have.
there. We
a
do have that.
study.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep, sure do.
And I wonder too, I mean, for that broader look for the region for like ped and public infrastructure, maybe this beyond Route 7 where we don't have maybe some studies, or we don't know what the other towns might have too for studies. But is there another list that they curate that has more long-term, 10, 20-year plans and goals for the region?
I mean, not that I'm aware of, this is actually progress that we're trying to work together
Yeah.
with our regional partners.
Mm-hmm.
That is a great idea. We shouldn't forget about it, but this is a slow evolution. But it's a great idea long term. So I was delighted they called.
I think we have our rep to NRPC, Albans Town, to thank for that, sorry.
Yeah.
He's been a really good conduit for sharing goals and frustrations. And we're working a lot better with NRPC in the last couple of months. Thanks to efforts among our own staff and Al.
I'll just put something in there that would like to support regional, I don't know, something supporting that initiative. We'd be quite interested in participating and see if we're leave it in there. And if you think of anything, let me know by tomorrow. I want to send this back to them fairly quickly. There's no, I didn't see a firm deadline, but I don't want it to languish because my guess is they'll just send it.
We have engineering plans in place for the loop road, the 207 extension, right?
We do, and we have some cost estimations for that too, yeah.
Maybe we throw that on the list just to have something to, I see Tim Smith put the industrial park infrastructure in, but maybe we'll just have that on there. I was looking at a map the other day and I thought it'd be interesting to someday see Franklin Park West loop back around to come out by Newton's on 105. But there's all kinds of different things that can be done. Be a nice way to do some clusters of high density developing that way.
Good for now? All right, I see yeses. The next item is our industrial park, the Ben and Jerry's Industrial Park streetlight discussion. I did put something in here, regarding why we're talking about it right now, and I talked to Tim Smith earlier today, and clarified that, they got a grant to do some of their work, most of their work. And the electrician is the one who said, hey, could you at least reach out to the town and find out if they're interested in putting in more lighting? Just a yes or no is needed this in the next month or so we can get the parts ordered. Takes a while for them to come here. And so Tim brought me a map today, but really it's more of one of those technical lighting maps that shows you where the light broadcasts over the road. They are putting more than 20 lights in the Ben and Jerry's, after the Ben and Jerry's entrance in that entire new section. And they realized when they were doing that, from the entrance that Ben and Jerry's uses to the rotary area, there were no lights at all, as you noticed in your little map. So the estimate that Tim and I had, and I don't have an estimate per light from the electrician yet, I have an estimate for the materials, but not the labor. So we estimated about $3,500 a light. What I don't know, if you look at that map, is the electrician meant to include that one section, but maybe not all the other sections I included in your thing. I think I was hoping that because we've had some illegal dumping issues near Nason Street, we could include that leg too, but I'm not sure that we can yet. What Tim said.
That one on the north?
Yeah,
right?
yes, yep, the one that goes
To
from
the
the
east of-
rotary to Nason
Yep.
is it's black as well.
It is, it definitely is.
And what Tim told me is the mechanics of this were the unit they're gonna put in the ground. The electrician just needs to know how many lights he's gonna support, at this point, when he puts that in at the Ben and Jerry's end. His suggestion was 10, and I thought that was an awful lot for that small strip, considering we have 4 in the entire other section.
10 where, Gary?
In that small section between the rotary and where the Ben and where that new gate, where the gate is there right now.
Okay. I see.
I'm sorry, did you have a question?
3,500 a light. How do they get the? That just seems weird. How do they get the wire up in the light? They must have to bury it in conduit.
I didn't ask that. I don't. If a master electrician tells me they're going to do it and this is how much, then I
That's cool.
just go with it. But
Yeah.
my question though, I mean, so right now, I think the only question you really need to answer is, would you be comfortable with it? We could bill it back to the tenants. I think most would probably advocate for adding some lights.
That's what I was gonna ask you, what are the funding sources, so we could do something like that, or would it have to come out of one or two of the?
We have an
budgets?
account, we have an account for the industrial park that still has, I believe, it's got 20. Yeah, it's something like $20,000. After that, if we chose to add more, we can bill it back to the tenants. We bill back the powers, we just approve that kind of thing.
We like permission for extra.
I don't think we do for those kind of things. I mean, if it was a substantial
Yeah.
bill like we did with those pumps, that was a pretty big ticket item. And we've gone to them and it just seems like the right thing to do, to say, hey, we're improving your infrastructure and your bill's gonna increase. But, so at this point, conceptually, I'm looking for, would you support adding lights there?
If the true, I think so. If the true
Yeah.
cost was $3,500 a light.
Right, I think at the very least for that one section where he's already gonna do it, we should probably put some in.
It makes me nervous that, like a 2-inch piece of conduit that used to be $8 is like
Yep.
42 right now. So if we're burying lines, some of these runs look like they're more than 4,000 in just an underground pipe.
You might say, look, I was only talking about Benoit Drive.
Right? You might say that for
And
the
then-
other ones. That
And then the decision is like, okay, that's made for us because we're not gonna go to the other side of the rotary yet. I think it certainly would help our issue with, the illegal dumping, but that could be another project for another day. So what do you think about the number? Like 6, 10?
Probably see what, I would guess we should identify the scope of how many we want to do and exactly where, and then get a hard quote on it.
Okay.
And just make sure there's no incidentals. Jonathan buys mechanical parts all the time too. It just seems like anything for under $5,000 that's of value is a value in itself. So I just don't know if that's the true cost installed, or if that's just a light fixture and the wiring, and then you gotta get the power to it. No idea.
I have a quote from Walsh Electric for the materials, but I don't have a quote for the labor. So, but you're not gonna get something that states, we're not gonna include incidentals or they're not covered. I mean, it's really basic.
Yeah.
So,
And then who pays the electricity going forward?
the tenants do,
Oh,
but see,
It would get added to this.
right,
It'd be on that same circuit, I think, and then we would pay it and then we bill it back.
Gotcha, okay.
I think the urgency is, well, I guess we can bring it back at the next meeting, but order it now so that when he's doing that other job, it can all be done as one. That's how we're gonna get the efficiency and price.
And then the road lights, part of that warrant was a little under $41.
Gotcha, okay, just adds to that.
But we'll talk about it on the 6th.
If that's a true cost, we should do 6 probably. We can do as much as we can. Knock it out, make it better lit, especially since there's sidewalks in and around that area there. More and more people walk.
So are we just
over.
talking about the branch that you said from the rotary to the gate?
Right now, we are talking about that. I'm going to ask the electrician if he's able at this time to do from the Rotary to Nason Street. I'd love to have 2 or 3 there even, but I don't know if he's willing to do it or if he could do that.
So I'm just looking at the map, wow, it doesn't go all the way to Mason Street, it doesn't go to the road.
Right.
See, are the X's, does the X mean that's where the light is? There's no key, I don't know.
There was
Yeah,
there was
Orange
a,
one or proposed.
Oh,
yeah, the key, although it was
oh, there it is.
done by me and Sharpie, or
Okay.
highlighter, it was
Okay.
super professional, but
And it's as good as anything
I-
else you see.
'Cause I just wanna make sure, cause I know Mylan owns a stretch of property out behind there, if they're gonna do, what's the future development look like? I don't wanna put a street light right where they gotta move it, say, a year down the road, so I just wanna be aware of
Yep.
placement is gonna be.
true, we'll
Not
have to
as
check
anywhere.
that.
You know?
Well, we're gonna call him anyway, so that's one of the first questions you should ask, yeah.
This was identified as a need by Tim Smith. I think we first
But
started
yep,
the
the
conversation.
electrician was curious, that's all.
On our last meeting, in support of the industrial park and FCIDC, we had a hearing related to a sidewalk grant. So we're working with FCIDC pretty well to try to support the park.
Right, and to that end, we have a hearing next week at 5:30 to talk about that grant. A public meeting to talk about the sidewalks, that we're gonna hopefully get a grant for at the industrial park. All right, so the next item, was the belongingness, equity, and inclusion consideration. I don't know quite what to call it, but that's what I called it for this meeting. You wanna
So
take that?
you had a note in your
Mm-hmm.
in here that the recommendation from staff is to hire a consultant to address deficiencies and develop a plan on how to fix them. And we have in the last draft budget $5,000 under the select board cost center in the budget proposed for special projects. So the staff recommendation was to hire a consultant and get started on that road, and then use that $5,000 as a way to pay for it. I think Jessica and I have a meeting Friday. Is this Friday?
Yes, with the Vermont Partnership on Fairness and Diversity, which is led by Curtis Reed. And I had met with Curtis about a year ago, and he talked a little bit about the process of working with the municipality. And pretty much, it's a long-term plan. So he said it's like a 10-year plan, and you always start with creating the town's mission and vision statement. And once the select board says, yes, we want to work with you, we kind of stay out of it and let the community lead it. And through that whole process, they make the mission and vision, there's training, and then they make a strategic plan. And they set these standards that are supposed to benefit the entire community, and the community really drives the work for the strategic plan. So I do think, well, and something I wanted to, well, let me back up. I do think there will be a committee. He said a committee is crucial to make sure that this work is seen through. So there has to be some sort of sustainable method set up. So I think up to us, it's a timing of when we want this committee to be put into place. And I just wanted to add, my friend Amy Brewer, who works in public health at the hospital, had shared some statistics from the community, and they do a YRBS survey every year among the youth. And one of the questions they asked was, do you feel like you matter to your community? And in the high school, if you're heterosexual, 60% said yes, they feel like they matter, which to me 60% is still pretty abysmal. There's 40% of kids who feel like they don't matter. But if you're LGBTQ, it's only 25%. So 25% of those kids feel like they matter. And for that age group and that group of people, they're 4 times more likely to attempt suicide as well. So I think you could say, people will argue, this is a school issue, or this is not a role for the town, but I mean, our job is to make this community a place where people want to move, or people want to stay. I mean, how many kids do you know grew up, didn't come out, got out of here as soon as they could, and then came out? And then you find out after the fact. So I think as a town, we need to think about, why do people not feel like they belong? Why do they feel like they need to leave? And if that doesn't speak to the board, you can think of it also as a economic driver. I mean, the fastest growing population in this country is youth and BIPOC. And we want them here. We want them to come here, start businesses. If they've grown up here, stay here, open your business, contribute to the town. So I think it's something very important, and I think it's something that we should work on. And I think there needs to be a committee. We just need to think about when to put it in place and how to set it up so it's successful for the long run. Because I think we all share concerns. We don't want to put it up and then, have it fall apart because it's not structured the right way. But I also don't want to slow progress because we're hoping for perfection. Like, we still need to be moving forward and not worrying if it's perfect at the start.
If, in talking with Curtis Reed or whoever, if we go forward with the consultant, I'm wondering if they could provide just even some initial guidance on how to best support a starting committee. And I'd be great if the guidance was something that we could take for any future committees that we have and can look at how we support committees, but just in general, how do you foster engagement and longevity with a community group.
Yeah, that's great. We can definitely ask that. And if anybody else wants to be included on the Zoom, it's Friday morning at 9 o'clock. So even more of us who can hear it, and anybody from the community that wants to hop on. I mean, I don't think we should have like 20 people, but we can definitely have a small group.
And if another select board member wanted to join, we can warn it. We have to make that
that's
decision
true.
by tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've obviously, like always, been doing a lot of thinking about this, and I wrote down my thoughts so I stay organized. But discussing equity and equality can be a very emotional topic to speak about publicly. This can make it difficult to truly listen to others' perspectives, especially when someone hears just a single piece of information that differs from their opinion and then assumes that person's ideas must be polar opposite to their own. For to make any progress, we need to listen and consider a bunch of different options, obviously. I believe both personally and the sentiments of a lot of the town residents that I've spoken to want St. Albans to be an inclusive community that creates a sense of belonging. And of course, this makes sense from an economic growth standpoint, but even more importantly, it's the ethical and right thing to do, to be inviting and inclusive. While I and likely all of us agree that we ought to focus on creating an even more inclusive community, we may disagree on how best to accomplish it. Before we automatically assume the only answer is a new committee, we should definitely explore the expected work of what the committee would do, explore alternate options as well. So some of this, maybe it's a committee, but there's some things maybe we can do right now with things that we have. And really, before we can design a specific solution, we really need to identify what the problem is with specificity. Like, what are examples of the specific inequalities and bias that are in the purview of the municipal government? And again, I'm not saying there aren't any, but we need specific, so we as a select board can discuss and design an effective solution. The solution may include a dedicated long-term committee. It may be a temporary one. It may not be a committee. If there were a committee, I'd want to know how it might operate. Would it be reviewing the work of the other committees? We don't have that many. We only have really, it seems like 4 big committees, maybe 5. Would they be just advising and reviewing decisions of the select board? If it's things like zoning laws and ordinances, I'm just trying to think again, who knows it better than our planning commission and those folks, the DRB? Would it make more sense to have people directly on those committees tackling those? And again, I'd love for anyone who wants to participate in town government. This is just another perspective. And again, I do think it's important that we look at issues that are in the purview of the municipal government. I think that's important. We want to do what we can do. Would it be more efficient for residents of the town to join existing committees and give their input and perspectives directly in those committees? Maybe not. Maybe we need a committee, but at least we can consider trying to encourage that now. And I would hope that residents willing to do the work of a BEI committee or DEI committee would also be willing to offer their time and efforts and valuable perspectives on the existing committees we already have. Many of them need more members now. And no matter what direction that we end up going, I've been doing a lot of stuff on the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and I would recommend we look at adopting some kind of declaration of inclusion, like the town of Franklin did. I think it's very simple, it's very straightforward, and I think we could all get behind that. And again, I just strongly encourage anyone in the town, a resident, to join any existing committees that we already have.
Thank you, Ryan. Would you like to respond to Brian or voice another opinion? Brian, you mentioned VLCT. I sought advice, as I often do, from Albans this weekend, and he said that VLCT has a committee which includes the city manager, Dominic Cloud, as one of the members, and they're working on drafting. He said that it looks like a game plan, or like a playbook for municipalities to use when tackling this issue or getting on the path. So that's something I just wanted to share.
Another thing, just a thought too with the police advisory committee. I think we need to leave it monthly.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't imagine cutting them back to quarterly or twice a year or once a year. They're doing some really important work, and it's $1 million contract, $1 million a year contract plus. I mean the amount of data that there's 15 pages, single line pages of data for 1 month. And that's a lot. I think we really need them. So I mean, whatever we do, I don't want to make sure we're not cutting into the police advisory committee. I think that's really important. And really, they've only had the sheriff on for less than half a year. So I want to make sure we don't cut into the important work they're doing. I think that's important.
I know I had proposed that off the cuff at one point in active discussion, but I want to say I totally agree with you. We need to, after speaking with staff and a couple members of the police advisory committee, we need to leave it intact. I think that was actually a recommendation that the committee had for us after its last meeting, that it continues to meet monthly. And Corey or Jennifer, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the outcome was they would like staff to keep notes and help provide like a functionality to the committee in some respects, but also they'd like to continue to meet monthly. So I think we should honor that.
I wonder too if we do end up working with a consultant in some kind of capacity. I think the questions you asked Brian are ones that I think a consultant can help us navigate, because I don't think we're the first town to consider those. And based on the size of the town and the staff and where we're at in the conversation, I think some of those questions are, we as a select board, we may not be able to come down to the very specific things, because again, I think you need a certain set of knowledge or a way of being able to look at the data in a meaningful way. Having a committee or having a consultant help us understand that to be able to then move forward, I think is going to be helpful. So I think even if, a consultant can provide us with a roadmap and a plan that we can over time enact, I think that, it still puts a lot of the pressure and ownership on the select board and the town to actually live up to the plan. So I don't think, having a consultant is, outsourcing the decision making or the ownership. I don't think anyone was suggesting that. I just think, for us, there's going to be a lot of decisions along the way. I would imagine that a consultant isn't going to, they can propose things, any consultant can propose things, and then it's just up to us to be able to enact them. But I think it's interesting, and I don't know if we'll be talking, I'm guessing we'll be talking to other people as well, but it's interesting that, Curtis Reed does need to have at least the current board be on the same page to move forward. And I think that whichever consultant, if we do go in this direction, it may be just an agreement between us on the board that that's something that we strive for. Because again, whether it's Curtis Reed or another person or another group, I think, getting close to or being unanimous and moving forward with it is going to show to the town and show a level of commitment and being able to take on that work.
And in the meantime, if any residents want to join any existing committees, please do so.
Or even if you don't want to join, and you see something on an agenda that you think is of interest and has a even if it doesn't have, an implication on this work, and you're just interested in it, feel free to ask questions. And we're all here, our staff is here, to be a source of information and resource to you as a resident. And so I think I think the only person we, not to put anybody in the hot seat, but we haven't heard from Jonathan. I'm wondering if you're in the same lane as everyone right now, if you have
I guess I am, but I really want to make sure this is done right. I really think we should put out an RFP for, to get, different views from our consultants on everything we do here. I just don't want, I wanna do it right too at the same time.
So we have to identify cost, and I think cost will inform timeline, because if the cost exceeds what we have in this fiscal year, then we're looking at next summer. If we can't pull the money from an appropriate bucket.
What bucket would that be?
There's a
Would
lot
be
of-
the engineering
Jonathan's
line.
got a list. What's that?
It's the engineering line, engineering consulting is where we
Yeah,
have to pull
that's
it from.
So we are.
While you're thinking about that, someone did ask about the Friday meeting, can you
And
forward
we
that to
committed
Jen?
12,000 to the health.
Yeah, and just, let me know who is going to attend, because I don't want it to be too big.
No, I got it, I asked them to email, Jen directly with,
Okay.
cause I didn't, they asked for a meeting ID and I don't have that yet,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah, I just got it.
Yeah, I get it.
So we've asked for a lot of things in the last, it seems like I personally try to add something to the list almost every meeting. And looking at the expense report, Anna provided us for this meeting, the engineering consulting line under the town manager budget, has $0 spent against 25,000 that we budgeted. But I'm, no caveat, make us a list of anything that we might be obligated to, so we know what our true
Right.
available funding is. And then if there are other sources of, that we could appropriately tap within the budget, let's try to put a funding plan together. But let's figure out the cost. I think we can work with Curtis. That's one of my questions on the list. It's not the question, but it's one.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, and I think, one of the first steps, I think, will be crafting that mission and vision, or, like you said, Brian, making a statement for our town. And that's something that even if we don't have an official committee started, if people are interested, I'd say, could they send their names to you, Carrie, now, just to start a list of people who might be interested in working? So when we do start going, we have people ready to call in.
Absolutely, and they can, I put, Jen's email actually in the chat, they could send that and she will, notify them when we have that discussion in the selectboard meeting. Just like she does if you're appearing here, she'll send you the agenda and, highlight the portion that's relevant.
Okay.
there are so many ways to set up, to set ourselves up to accomplish this. It's like, which way is going to work for us? And I think we've all done research. Jessica and I ran into, some municipal BEI committees have a purview in the school because the budget for the school system is funded through the municipalities in a lot of other states. Then we have the ability to set up like a working task force that has like maybe applicable department heads that meet quarterly that make sure that we're accomplishing whatever plan we agree to after we go through the consulting process. There's all kinds of, the roadmap can be, up for discussion, like Brian said. And I share Jonathan's concern that we want to make sure that it's done appropriately every step of the way. And
Yeah, I mean, my piece with it is just, because a lot of places have committees, and that may be the best solution for them. Like a school district, I think it makes sense, and then, the city of St. Albans is, I don't know, their staff is 4 or 5 times the size of ours. It maybe a committee still makes the most sense for us, but I just wanna make sure that we're, as Jonathan said, we're doing it right. We're not just saying, all right, the answer is a committee, and then figure out what they're gonna do. Let's figure out what we need done, and figure out if it's a committee, it's a committee.
Well, I think it can be set up in a way that isn't gonna demand a lot from staff, hopefully, if we do it the right way and have a consultant, so it's gonna feel like it's enhancing what we're doing here.
there are a lot of groups that exist. Like in my time at BFA, we had for the LGBTQIA students, there was a group called GLOW, and it was an acronym for gay, lesbian, or whatever. It was awesome to see. And they were very prevalent in encouraging folks to be themselves. And so it would be nice if we could all try to be mindful and identifying groups that exist in the community to see if we have even a temporary committee that works with a consultant, that we might get some liaisons from like that community that Jessica had mentioned, that only 25% said they felt valued. I'd like to hear from members of that.
Yeah, Yeah, well, I did, I mean, just for transparency, I did go to BFA and talk to a group of kids, and they took a little bit to warm up, but once they did, they started sharing a lot of stories and a lot of ways that they felt like they didn't really matter. And I think it'll be important, and this is why I'm not really for people joining our existing committees, because I think we need a group that's gonna be really tuned in on that and be willing to go out. Because it takes a lot, like, for us to sit up here, maybe it's in our nature to like not be afraid to put ourselves out there, but if you have felt like you haven't mattered and then you're being asked to come into like a public meeting and talk about how you feel about that, it's a lot to ask somebody. And I just think like being able to have those one-on-one conversations and really listen to people isn't something that like the planning board or the DRB really has the capacity for.
So we're gonna try to seek out cost and then work on timeline. We'll keep it on the agenda as new information comes up, and we'll try to figure out a path forward. But you know, it's important that we can all agree to whatever path we march down.
So do you want to have it on the agenda for the 12/6 meeting or the 12/6 or 12/20?
12/6 and talk about the outcome of Friday's meeting at a minimum.
Yeah, I'm also hoping, because in the past Curtis had offered to come to one of our meetings and just talk about the process before we were even
Corey,
thinking of committing.
I just Googled what Curtis's group, Vermont Partnership of Fairness and Diversity, did for the town of Bennington. And just ballpark, they're
Corey, sorry, but can you come forward,
yeah.
please?
Just a quick Google of what Curtis's group did for Bennington from budget reasons for you guys to just think about. Is it was $21,700 for the consulting work they did. So again, frame. Huh?
1 year or multiple years or?
That is, I will read you the scope of work. That is a select board town manager 2 half-day training. Community vision statement, which is a half day, another half day for community research teams, and then 60 hours of coaching. So just, I mean, that would eat over our consulting line we have in this fiscal year.
And we have commitments to it already that we just haven't paid yet.
Correct. And so, I mean, and it would eat all of next year's that you're looking at budgeting of 25,000. So, while an important topic, it's either going to require you guys to put more resources into it or delaying other projects in the community.
I mean, not having looked at that and not knowing exactly what was negotiated between him and Bennington, I think, I think to Jonathan's point, having an RFP, if we know what we can spend and we can put that out there to see what we can get for that bid or see what comes back. And also, I don't know how customizable that is or if that was just, the out of the box option, but.
I mean, most consultants won't come for less than $200 an hour. He was charging $195. So if you're looking at serious work, it's a considerable amount of money.
I heard the same thing from the school district and
So I mean, again, just for your knowledge, you guys are wondering costs. I mean, an RFP usually means you're actually prepared to go out and hire someone, not just looking for a price. Bennington had just a quick Google search showed that that's what Bennington paid. That group, so just ballpark, it's going to be a 20 to 20. My guess is 15 to 25,000, depending on where the scope of work that you guys would come on. But I don't have good service here, but I'll email the Bennington scope of work to everyone tomorrow, so you can review it to inform the discussion.
yeah, it makes me even that much more curious as to what the LCT is working on. Also, to see what resources might be available for that and for the benefit of the membership. Yeah, we'll have to ask. We'll have to ask Curtis to put that with the Bennington scope in perspective to see if that's like Aaron was saying, if that's like an out of the box what the most people pick, or if we can, we can ask.
Customize it.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask, what is $10,000 by?
No,
It might be, thinking through, like maybe there are certain phases we can take on a certain amount and know that we're gonna get this amount of work out of that and then
Could stretch it
knowing
over
that, like
2
what
or
are
3
we,
years if we had to.
right?
wheels of government grind slow, and it's usually due to resources. So, we'll run into that red tape by the sound of it.
I wonder if there's, I mean, I don't know what kind of granting opportunities might exist for this work as well. So it might not just be all of our, we might be able to get matching grants for other kinds of grants, I don't know.
We should ask that Friday to see if there's any funds.
Until next time then?
Okay.
Okay.
Good discussion. Good.
I was just, sorry, I just had a thought, maybe we can talk to Bennington, once they, other towns that have gone through something similar, just to hear from their perspectives,
Do you know the town manager of Bennington from any VLCT meetings, by chance?
I don't know off the top of my head now, but I
Just
mean,
drive down Route 7, we can go.
yeah, if you wanna give me a day.
Wait, see.
Yeah.
Stop it.
I mean, we can call, yes, but
Charter a helicopter?
I think it'd be beneficial to talk to the consultant first, because
Yeah.
he'll know
Yeah.
immediately
Right.
what he did there versus what we might want as a hybrid, so.
Right. Yeah.
And
I think it'd be
given
a good
how-
discussion.
Yeah.
I imagine it'll be pretty open and, we'll be able to put our cards on the table pretty immediately to say this time.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's other consultants out there too, offering varying levels of work, so.
Yeah, like Corey said though, I did find online in my research that I think I saw 175 an hour for one individual in the state. I can't remember who that was, but it was mostly 225. I saw a couple 250s. But I don't know how many hours it takes to get down. That's the really. But there are a number of people out there for sure, and they all sound very well qualified to help us. So we'll have to keep pecking away at it. But the gears turn. Any more discussion on this before we move on to the Act 255 we were copied on? Okay, perfect.
So I do have one surprise thing I was hoping we could talk about. It hopefully won't take too long, but so yes, the Act 250 thing you were copied on. The one item I was hoping to discuss tonight was, at our old salt shed, we used to allow people to go in and get sand from the sand pile. We don't want them in the current situation because it's not safe to be operating around that. So we're proposing that maybe we put some blocks. Alan knows where it is. There's another picture, but near the entrance of the old town garage, so that we can put a private sand pile and stockpile sand, which has a little bit of salt in it, so it doesn't become one big block of ice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're proposing to put a pile of sand there so people can pull off the road, fill a bucket, we'll keep it full, but that we don't have people wandering around that active construction site either.
Would there be other access to get in here if those blocks were up, if we needed to? Is there?
Yes, there is access from the
Access.
town hall site, and
Okay.
that is still open, and DW uses it, and we use it when we go over there for site visits.
This would be like a temporary setup for
Mhm.
winter.
Yeah, and we might put a little shed roof on it just to keep the rain off. I don't know. I just wanted consensus that you didn't find this, that you found this conceptual plan okay. Because people they started asking about it. Myself too. I bought a 5-gallon bucket of dirt in my garage at all times, so for my driveway.
You have like a cost in mind as to what it will take to set this up?
Well, the blocks don't cost us anything. Harrison Concrete, when they used theirs for bracing on the new town hall, they gave them to us.
Donated them. So plug to
So-
Harrison. We didn't actually publicly thank them for that.
Yeah, but so the blocks won't cost nothing.
Right.
And if we do a little shed roof, it's a few 2x4s and tin or something. I haven't really priced that out. We just wanted to see what you guys were thinking.
Now, being that it's a commercial site, are there any state fire, does the fire department want that access open for any reason in case one of the buildings caught? I guess that's my only other thing. It's just like you see, there's other areas in there that could be. I like the concept, and I'm really glad that you're thinking about customer service first. And I'm just wondering. It sounds like such a good deal. I'm just wondering where the other
Well, they do have the other access that they can get into off the Warp Street side.
Is that big enough for like a fire truck to turn down if we had the orange garage caught fire or something? I know my inclination might be to let it
I'm
go,
like,
but-
do you really, I'm not gonna answer that. It's not our intent. We can ask Bob before we put them in, to
Yeah.
just eyeball it.
Or we can put it, I can move some of the stones off to the side of that gate and do the same thing and leave that gate section open. The whole idea was avoiding people going in the yard to dump off stuff.
Yeah.
So where we have the big stones to the side of those gates, I could move some of those and
Mhm.
do the same structure just off the side and leave that entrance so it's locked, but if they had to get in.
They could.
Okay, yeah.
Cause the garage that's pictured in here obviously is not there, it's an old, I'm hoping that Google updates.
How many people do you think would use this roughly? Like, are we talking like hundreds
Well,
of
Lots,
residents?
yes.
I've already had 5 people last one get buckets of sand already.
So what happens on like a Saturday morning if like 6 people show up at the same time to access that? It's right by the way the gate's closed. I know it
That
never
never
happens.
happens.
Okay, that's the question.
I mean, I've seen
If
2
that's the
people
answer,
there,
it's fine.
Or if there's like an ice storm, you get the
Yeah,
commercial.
yeah, I've been
back
over there
in,
before,
truck,
there's
you
like
know.
one other person at the
Yeah.
same time, you know, 4:30 in the afternoon.
That'd be more like
Got it. 10-4. So there's no traffic implications to Georgia Shore. We can keep it out of there to keep
Well,
that.
That's the
Okay,
safest
yeah.
option, because we don't wanna do it on Brigham,
Right.
and we don't want them circling around the active commercial yard,
Yeah.
so. This is one of the safest areas for the moment.
So if we've got that access on Worth Street, how do they shut that down on the weekend so people don't go in there from
There's a
there?
gate, there's a chain.
chain.
Yeah,
They put a
okay,
chain across.
cool.
So why wouldn't we put this on Brigham Road with the same like?
So didn't want it right near the front that has a manicured lawn and a sign. I don't know, it just seemed like people already knew they were going over there. Over to the old, people were trained to go to the old salt shed.
Yeah, well, I see that as another spot for people to put stuff, like, let's just back right in there and throw some junk at it.
Yeah, I didn't think that you would want as a town to have the salt, we can't fill in the ditch either, but to have a big pile of dirt in front of our new garage.
Well, you know, you can put it off to the side of the salt shed or some of the blocks are over there.
We don't want people in front of any of those doors, and people will park where they shouldn't park if we allow the public in that general area. I mean, we found an abandoned car there just a month or 2 ago.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good scene, but we can work on it for another year. I mean, we're kind of running out of time this year, but if you
If
hate
people
it
depend
after
on
the
it.
season, we can look around, make a more permanent situation.
Do a pilot program this
Like on
year.
the south side of the salt shed, there's no doors there. Like they're off the, I mean, the parking lot is humongous. Why don't you just put it right there? You can just put 6 blocks up with a little roof and fill it with water in the morning before you leave or whatever. And I don't know why we gotta put it down here, that's all. Cause now we're bringing sand down here. And it ain't like it's that much, it's a real minimal amount. I don't think like people like, you know, you're talking, you know, not hundreds of yards, you're talking a few yards, I would speculate.
Yeah, once the residents start, we go through a lot of sand. Most of the sand that goes is to residents.
I just keep it all in one spot, and then you don't have to worry about one spot.
But that, I don't want people past the office area of the town, the new garage. I don't want them anywhere past that point, because our fire trucks go in there, there's people going in and out of all the bays. And I don't want someone to inadvertently park their dump truck, or their, pickup truck or something there and walk over to get a thing of sand and have an accident there that could have been prevented. So
And what
trying
happened
to
with,
separate the
what did
commercial
people do
from the
when
residential.
DPW was down on Georgia Shore? I never did it myself.
Salt shed was left wide open.
It was
backed
left
up.
wide open, but it wasn't, it's just not. It was discussed at least on a couple occasions when we were talking to the insurance people that we shouldn't have such wide open access to a
Right.
commercial activity.
There's 3 lawsuits in the state of Vermont with salt and sand, with people coming in just helping themselves.
And somebody
One was a small kid that parents wasn't paying attention and the salt let loose and buried the kid. A lot of towns don't have the luxury of a sand shed, so the top portion freezes. There's cases where chunks had fallen off and slid down and broke the people's ankles. So,
I know they're extreme, but we were just, it was advised.
With an insurance
Not do that.
implication, and it's prevalent to whoever underwrites our policies. That's happened.
And this is gonna be just a Band-Aid solution, I would think, because if we do ever repurpose that spot
Right.
for
That's
road
correct.
access, we can keep it there.
We're gonna have to have another solution, let's go.
Yeah.
It's just, it's kind of like the middle of November, it kind of crept up on us all, and now it's gonna snow soon.
or eventually you just don't give it out. I know
Do a lot of
people,
ta-
I know
most towns
people might
do it.
not want to hear that, but
Yeah, most towns do it, and a lot of them like put it on the other side of their gate, and they just put a small pile there, so.
Like at one point, we had a stump
can.
dump, we don't have a stump dump anymore.
Right, so I mean, we can do that, we can come up with a better long-term solution. This is the 2021-22 solution. Albeit not pretty.
Yeah, I don't see why we don't keep it unbreakable where the sand is. If the sand was down there and you want to keep people out, fine, because you're gonna put the sand right there, but why bring sand down here?
Yeah,
Like majority of the residents aren't really down on this end of town anyway.
I mean,
Because it's too late to fill in the ditch in front, and we wanted to keep them west of where the office area is at DPW. So there's only so much real estate there, and I don't wanna put a pile of sand in the entrance right now. I mean, that's just it's not high tech, I'm not trying to hide anything, that's exactly why I don't want it there right now. But if you want it there as a board, then next year in the summertime, we can fill in the ditch or widen the commercial, entrance and pave it, and just make a spot, like a
But
bump out
we must
spot.
have like 100 feet from the door to across that pavement. I mean, we park equipment there and other stuff.
the side of the salt shed,
Well, no, not salt shed, but like even if you put it on the front of the doors, which I wouldn't recommend, I'd put it down by the side of the salt shed. So
I think the whole idea is keeping people off that site because Carrie and I've actually recently talked is people are starting to go out there and want to get dump crap off.
they dump
It's
it
not
down
always.
here, so.
We have a lot of merchandise, equipment and stuff underneath the cold storage. The doors are shut to the sheds. It's just an opportunity for people to be going around and,
Mischievous.
yeah.
They were a little naughty.
So if we can't, like, we're talking about needing a long-term solution for when this site's repurposed, and if we can't agree to have that long-term solution be at our new public works facility, should we rip the Band-Aid off and end it right here? If we know we can't have that there, or if we don't want people on the new public works site, period. Because it sounds like people coexisted and coming in and going to the salt shed and helping themselves for years, and we didn't have an issue, but
It's
now it's insurance stories, of course, are something to be concerned about.
I wonder how much, I mean, I don't think we probably have this now, but like the cost of doing that ditch fill in and paving in order to create space at the new DPW site for an eventual spot.
I think that would require, like, not to cut you off, but I think it would require some permit amendments and like a site plan amendment with the development review board, and if we're adding pavement, it's gonna require a revision to our stormwater permit.
Right, so I think, we need to think about those
Right.
pieces as well, whether we do it at the DPW site or, I don't know what other options we have within town properties that make sense.
I was gonna ask, do we know of any site that we own that we
I just feel like almost set it up down there this year, make sure we do it in a way the fire department is kosher with, and then we're gonna have to figure out something for years after, especially if this isn't available. And maybe it is doing it there at the one on Brigham Road, maybe it's a second spot, or maybe it's just that we don't need it anymore. I feel like for this year, people obviously count on it, it sounds like, so it'd be an extra tough Band-Aid to rip if we'd have to communicate that to people, to be fair. And if it's down there in a way where it's not blocking for fire reasons, that's no problem there.
Keep brainstorming for the future.
Yeah, obviously that's not a permanent location,
Right.
so I have to figure something out.
Kind of wondering if there might be like a centrally located spot that might work for like a public-private partnership on this. But I don't foresee any private landowner offering up access when, we're concerned, we don't want open access because people may dump things and be mischievous, so.
Yeah.
I wonder, is there any, maybe it'd be worth talking with, Northwest Solid Waste. I don't know if they've got sites or probably not food acts, but I don't know if there's other,
Right.
mostly in Swanton, but, there might be other places where people go, that make sense.
Like if we were in Swanton, I would say let's reach out to Champlain Country Club that has a giant parking lot that's empty all winter and see if we could set something temporary up there every year and just have it be open.
And they don't have a lot of traffic in there, as
Right.
much.
And it's
If
in
we
a-
do that, we're gonna all of a sudden inherit another parking lot to maintain.
Right, so
I
there's
don't
all
wanna
kinds
do
of
that.
implications.
They're like, oh, you wanna put a pile of there?
It is our desire to offer the same level of services, but if it becomes so costly or, the bad implications become too great that it outweighs it. We had to close a stump dump. We had one and commercial folks abused it before we couldn't allow it
I
anymore.
mean, this can be I think we might, well, we'll come back to that. I would love consensus. It's just like a fairly small pile of dirt.
Right, yeah, you're right, maybe blowing it out.
I mean, I think a lot of people love it, so we'd have to slowly, like Brian said, and warn people ahead of time. 'Cause right
Next
now,
winter,
yeah.
if this parking lot's always empty, we could put it right over there if we wanted to.
Absolutely true.
So.
Yep. On the old dumpster pad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
That could work for a few years.
we have consensus to do the Band-Aid approach for this year, just to offer the service, and then we'll come back to it for next winter.
Yep, which is we're gonna put a pile of sand there. It has a little bit of salt in it, so it doesn't become a brick, and residents are able to go get their sand.
And it's safe with the fire department.
And we've checked with that first, yeah. We're gonna probably offset it a little bit from your current very well.
Whatever they say, if they think that other access is great, then perfect. But yeah, it would be
they might not love
something,
it.
yeah, there's a fire there.
Yep.
You just imagine the headline.
All right, schedule.
Alright, so we have our next regular meetings on Monday, December 6th and Monday, December 20th. And we have a budget meeting Monday, November 22nd at 5:30.
We also have a public hearing that night.
We do for the sidewalk grant with FCRDC,
Mhm.
and we are we gonna do a holiday gathering this year, or are we suspending for COVID?
We're tentatively planning one, for the 18th, I think, or the 16th, that Thursday.
Okay, yeah, and it'd be really neat. I know one thing that when we had a board that was composed of retired folks, a lot more select board members would attend those functions. So if we know well in advance and can take half a day, maybe it'd be worth instead of a noon start time, maybe 1:30. And maybe we could, talk about maybe sending folks home, I don't know. There's a lot of options, but our participation in that is definitely important.
And that is targeted for the 16th, or we just? is that just a
That's when we
throw-out
have it. We had to schedule a caterer a while ago.
date? And I'm just gonna put it, what time?
Noon.
Yeah, it's usually
It's good food.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think we're doing not these.
It's a nice opportunity to rub elbows with everybody in a informal setting. You get to learn about the people that you're working with, and it helps inform us when we make certain decisions about compensation and otherwise, and benefits we were affecting.
How many years has this been going on? That you've been doing it
Every year.
for as long as you can remember?
Yeah.
We usually do the volunteer dinner in April, and we do this, and then we do the Bay Park event in the summer.
And I believe we're hiring I can't remember her name right now, the woman who bought Santini Catering.
Sue Leclerc.
Sue Leclerc. You can see her face.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Women by the Dozen doing cookies for us, which
Wow.
is fabulous. Yeah. I'm gonna try to do it. It's safe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in the interest of time, I will forego my report. Does anybody have any other business? Okay, hearing none, we need to enter into executive session to discuss a personnel and then contractual matter. So if anyone would like to make that motion.
I'll make the motion to go into executive session to discuss legal, contractual, or personnel issues where premature general public knowledge of the subject matter would place the town or person involved at a substantial disadvantage, and further move to make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss legal, contractual, or personnel issues under the provisions of Title 1, Section 313A1 of Vermont statutes, and to invoke the town manager.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
Jessica?
Thank you.